Welcome to our deep dive. Today we're going to be talking about something uh, pretty fascinating, I think.
Yeah.
The idea of using physics to explain morality.
It's a very intriguing concept.
Yeah,
Very intriguing.
it is.
To think that something like physics can explain something as seemingly subjective as morality.
Yeah, and so the way we're going to be looking at this is through the lens of entropy,
Right.
which is that tendency towards disorder that we see all around us.
Exactly.
And the book that's guiding us on this journey is A New Order: Entropy, Morality, and Consciousness.
A great book.
Yeah, really interesting book. So before we dive into all the really sort of heady philosophical stuff,
Sure.
I think it's helpful to just start with like a basic understanding of what entropy is.
Okay.
So think about like a pristine ice cube,
Okay.
right? It's this perfectly structured, solid action. And as it melts, it transitions into this more disordered liquid state.
Right.
So that's entropy in action.
Exactly. It's the natural progression of things from order to disorder. And what A New Order suggests is that this principle applies not just to physical systems, but to moral systems as well.
Okay.
So imagine a society where everyone acts selfishly, pursuing their own gain at the expense of others.
Right.
That society would be like a shattered magnet with all of its pieces scattered, unable to function as a whole.
Oh, that's a powerful image.
Yes, and the book uses this analogy to explain how moral systems, just like the pieces of that magnet, naturally seek to reassemble and restore balance
So how do we put the magnet back together then?
through selfless actions.
Okay.
Think of acts of cooperation, sacrifice, compassion.
Okay.
These are the forces that counteract the pull of moral entropy.
I see.
The book argues that by choosing selfless actions, we contribute to a more stable and harmonious society. We're essentially piecing that broken magnet back together.
That's so interesting. Now, another concept that really caught my attention in the book was this idea of consciousness as a product of information processing.
Right.
And the book breaks it down into three levels,
It does,
right? The first level being sort of like raw data,
Yes.
the basic information coming in from our senses.
Like your eyes taking in light shapes, colors.
Right, just that pure sensory input.
Exactly. One-dimensional information.
Okay, so that's level one, just the building blocks of experience.
Right.
What happens next?
At the second level, our brains process that raw data, transforming it into meaningful experiences.
Okay.
So think about recognizing a face in a crowd.
Uh-huh.
Your brain takes those individual pixels of visual information and assembles them into a recognizable pattern.
So that's level two,
Level 2.
where we start making sense of the world around us.
Yes,
But there's a third level, right?
there is.
What the book calls 3D consciousness.
That's right.
What makes this level so special?
This is where we become self-aware, capable of reflecting on our own experiences and understanding our place within a larger context.
Okay.
It's the ability to think about thinking. A New Order suggests that this level of consciousness is crucial for making ethical choices
Okay.
because it allows us to move beyond simply reacting to stimuli and to consider the consequences of our actions, both for ourselves and for others.
So as we become more self-aware, we're better equipped to choose actions that decrease moral entropy.
Precisely.
Hmm.
The book argues that understanding our own thought processes can help us make choices that contribute to a more stable and ethical world.
I'm curious about those choices.
Mm.
We've talked about how selfish actions disrupt moral systems, but what are some concrete examples of actions that actually help to restore that balance?
Okay.
What does moral energy look like in practice?
Well, imagine a community facing a severe drought.
Yeah.
Individuals hoarding water for themselves would be an example of actions that increase entropy, furthering the crisis.
Right.
However, if community members choose to ration water, share resources, and work together to find solutions,
Yeah.
they are actively working against that entropy, restoring balance and creating a more resilient system.
It's amazing how such everyday choices can either contribute to or counteract the forces of moral entropy.
It is.
And this principle applies not just to small-scale situations, but to global issues as well, right?
Absolutely.
Think about climate change.
Exactly.
Nations prioritizing their own economic interests over the health of the planet are contributing to a system in chaos marked by extreme weather events and resource depletion.
Right.
On the other hand, global cooperation to reduce emissions, invest in renewable energy, and protect ecosystems represents a collective effort to restore balance and reduce entropy on a planetary scale. This is all starting to make so much sense. I'm really starting to grasp how this concept of entropy, usually confined to the realm of physics, can offer such a profound framework for understanding morality and the choices we make every day. But I'm sure our listeners are eager to delve deeper into the practical implications of all this.
Welcome back. Before we delve further into those practical applications of a new order, I'd like to address a question that might be on your mind. Does this framework of reducing entropy imply that we have no free will?
That's an interesting question.
Are we merely robots programmed to minimize disorder?
That is a question I was pondering as well.
Yeah.
It does seem like a paradox. These laws of physics influencing our moral choices.
Yeah.
How does the book reconcile those ideas?
Yeah, the book acknowledges this tension and offers two primary modes of action
Okay.
that address this interplay between our choices and the pull of entropy, wu-wei and sacrifice.
Wu Wei. That's a new one for me. What does that mean?
Wu-wei is a concept from Taoist philosophy.
Okay.
It translates to effortless action or non-doing.
Okay.
So imagine a leaf floating down a stream, moving effortlessly with the current.
Okay.
That's wu-wei in action.
Going with the flow.
Aligning ourselves with the natural flow of the universe, minimizing resistance, and allowing things to unfold organically.
So it's about going with the flow rather than trying to force things in a particular direction.
Right.
I can see how that could lead to a reduction in entropy.
Ex-
A sense of harmony within ourselves and the world around us.
Right.
But what about situations that require us to take a stand to fight against injustice or suffering?
Sure.
Is there a place for that within this framework?
Absolutely. That's where sacrifice comes in.
Okay.
Sacrifice in this context isn't about martyrdom or self-denial.
Right.
It's about making a conscious choice to expend energy to restore balance or right a wrong, even if it requires effort or discomfort.
I see.
Imagine a group of people protesting against an unjust law,
Yeah.
risking their own safety to advocate for a more equitable society. That's a powerful example of sacrifice as a force that counteracts moral entropy.
So it's about discerning when to go with the flow and when to push back against the current.
Yes.
Choosing actions that either minimize friction or actively restore balance.
Exactly. And A New Order suggests that both wu-wei and sacrifice are crucial for navigating the complexities of moral choice within this entropic universe.
Now, I want to touch upon a topic that feels especially relevant in today's world.
Yeah.
Artificial intelligence. AI is becoming increasingly integrated into our lives and is raising a lot of ethical questions.
It is.
How does a new order address the role of AI in this whole entropy equation?
The book dives into the ethical implications of AI, arguing that these complex systems, depending on their design and application, can either exacerbate moral entropy or help reduce it.
Okay.
So let's consider a hypothetical scenario. Imagine an AI-powered algorithm designed to distribute aid resources after a natural disaster.
Okay, a system designed to provide help where it's needed most.
Right. Now, if this algorithm is programmed solely to maximize efficiency, prioritizing the areas where aid can be delivered most easily,
Right.
it might end up neglecting communities that are harder to reach or lack the infrastructure to effectively utilize those resources.
Right.
This could lead to a deepening of existing inequalities, essentially increasing moral entropy.
So by focusing solely on efficiency, the algorithm could inadvertently perpetuate existing disparities.
Exactly. However, if that same algorithm is programmed to prioritize equity and fairness, ensuring that aid reaches those who need it most, regardless of logistical challenges, then it becomes a tool for reducing moral entropy, contributing to a more just and compassionate response to the crisis.
So the key takeaway is that AI is not inherently good or bad. It's a tool.
Right.
And like any tool, its impact depends on the values and intentions we embed in its design and application.
Precisely. And A New Order challenges us to be mindful of those values as we navigate this evolving landscape of AI, recognizing that our choices have the power to shape the moral trajectory of these powerful technologies.
This conversation is really making me reflect on my own choices.
Good.
It's easy to feel overwhelmed by the scale of global issues like climate change or social injustice.
I understand.
It can feel like our individual actions are just a drop in the ocean.
Right. But A New Order offers a powerful counterpoint to that feeling of powerlessness.
Okay.
It reminds us that systems are made up of individuals, and that collective change always begins with individual choices.
So even small acts of kindness, ethical decision-making, mindful awareness can contribute to a larger shift.
Absolutely. Every time you choose to buy a product from a company that prioritizes sustainability, every time you speak out against injustice, every time you choose compassion over indifference, you are contributing to a reduction in moral entropy, creating ripples of positive change that extend far beyond your immediate sphere of influence.
That's encouraging.
It is.
It makes me feel like I have a role to play in shaping a better future, even if it starts with small everyday choices.
And that sense of agency, that understanding of our interconnectedness and the power of our choices is at the heart of a new order.
Yeah.
It's a call to awaken to our potential as agents of positive change, recognizing that we are not merely passengers on this entropic journey, but active participants with the ability to influence the direction of the flow.
Now, while we've been focusing on the practical applications of reducing entropy, I think it's important to circle back to the book's core message. What's the key takeaway, the essence of what A New Order wants us to understand?
It's about recognizing the interconnectedness of all things.
Okay.
It's about understanding that the same principles that govern the physical universe entropy order balance also apply to our moral and social systems.
Uh-huh.
And by understanding those principles, we can align our choices with the natural flow of the universe, creating a world that is more harmonious, just, and sustainable for all.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's about seeing the interconnectedness, understanding the patterns, and choosing actions that create a ripple effect of positive change.
Precisely. It's about embracing a new way of thinking, a new order that recognizes the interconnectedness of our choices and the power we hold to shape the world around us.
This has been such a mind-expanding conversation. I'm feeling inspired and ready to delve deeper into the book's insights. But before we wrap up, I want to leave our listeners with something to contemplate.
Sure.
A question that A New Order prompts us to ask ourselves.
Okay. I think it's a wonderful idea. A final thought to spark reflection and inspire action.
So here it is. What small act of selflessness, compassion, or mindful awareness can you choose today to nudge the scales towards a more ordered and harmonious world, starting with your own life?
It's a powerful question that invites us to consider the ripple effects of our choices and to recognize that even small acts of intentionality can contribute to a larger shift towards a more just and harmonious world.
Welcome back to our deep dive into A New Order, entropy, morality, and consciousness. We've been exploring how entropy can apply to morality and the choices we make,
Yes, we've discussed how selfish actions increase moral entropy, leading to a more disordered society.
and how selfless actions like cooperation and sacrifice can help restore balance and create a more harmonious world.
Right, and we've also touched upon the role of AI, highlighting how it can either amplify or mitigate moral entropy.
But now I think it's time to tackle the big question. What does it all mean for us? What's the takeaway message from A New Order?
Well, the book's conclusion is both profound and empowering. It doesn't shy away from the reality of entropy's pull, but it also emphasizes that we're not powerless in the face of this force. We have the capacity to make choices that counteract entropy.
So it's not about eliminating entropy altogether,
Right, which is probably impossible.
but rather about understanding its influence and making choices that guide us towards a more harmonious existence.
Precisely. It's about recognizing that we're not just passengers on this cosmic journey, we're active participants.
And we can influence the direction of the flow.
Exactly. The book urges us to embrace a new order, one that acknowledges the interconnectedness of all things.
And the power of our choices.
Yes,
That's a powerful message. It's both humbling and inspiring to realize that even small acts of kindness can contribute to a larger shift
absolutely.
towards a more harmonious world.
The book offers a multi-pronged approach to reducing moral entropy.
Okay.
It urges us to take action on multiple levels.
Personal, societal, and global.
Exactly.
Let's start with the personal level. What practical steps can we take to embrace this new order?
Well, the book emphasizes practices we've already touched upon, like mindfulness and emotional regulation. By cultivating inner stillness and awareness, we can become more attuned to our thoughts, emotions, and motivations.
So it's like creating that sense of order and peace within ourselves first,
Exactly.
and then it ripples outward.
Precisely. It's about recognizing that personal transformation is the foundation for creating a more harmonious world.
But what about the larger systems, those societal and global structures? What role do we play in shifting those towards a more ethical and sustainable direction?
A new order calls for a collective shift in priorities.
Okay.
It urges societies to prioritize long-term thinking, social justice, and sustainability over short-term gains and individual profit.
So it's about advocating for policies that promote renewable energy, equitable economic systems.
Yes, and a deeper understanding of our interconnectedness with the natural world.
This conversation has been incredibly insightful. It's given me a new lens to view my choices and actions.
Good, I'm glad to hear that.
I'm understanding how they contribute to either increasing or decreasing entropy in the world.
And that, I believe, is the true power of a new order. It empowers us to see ourselves not just as passive bystanders, but as active agents of change.
It reminds us that we have a responsibility to make choices that align with our values.
Yes, and contribute to a world that is more just compassionate and sustainable.
This deep dive has left me with a sense of hope and possibility. Even amidst the challenges, we have the power to choose a path towards greater harmony,
Absolutely. It starts with recognizing our interconnectedness
embracing the principles of entropy and order
and making conscious choices.
that reflect our deepest values.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into a new order, entropy, morality, and consciousness.
We hope it has sparked a sense of wonder and inspired you to consider your own role in shaping a more harmonious world.
Remember, every choice matters. Every action has an impact.
Choose wisely and let's create a brighter future together.